We do. We have our flag. So, would you please stand and join me in the pledge? Our flag's over here. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. Do we have any changes to the agenda? Additions, changes? Hearing none. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes from September 4th?
I move that we approve the minutes of September 4th, subject to corrections.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Any corrections?
Okay,
Sure.
in section 5 committee reports, just a couple typo pieces. So in personnel, where it says Mr. Youns remembered Kathleen Morse, that was actually Mr. Doucette who
Okay.
made that acknowledgement. And same situation, a little further down that section, Mr. Youns congratulated Brian Hill, also Mr. Doucette. So
Gotcha.
I'd ask us to edit that.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Thank you. Any other changes? All those in favor of approving the minutes with the changes referenced, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Any public input or announcements? Hearing none, we will move to what proves to be the best part of our evening. Maureen, who are all these lovely young men and women that are here?
Welcome. Before we start, though, I just wanted to thank someone really special in our community who was awarded this week by the governor for Volunteer of the Year. This would be Nelson. Nelson comes every Friday and works with the kids and does roundup and sings with them. He's in charge of our Four Winds. He's my go-to person anytime I need anything in the community, and I'm blessed to have him, to be able to rely on him and work with him, and I just think we all need to give him a round of thanks. So we're going to do a small medley of songs for you.
Great.
So we have a small group of, or a group of the kids here. We have ukulele players, recorder players, and they're going to sing, but they would like for you guys to sing along with them. We're going to put the words up here on the screen. Okay? And we're going to start off with Skip to My Lou. All right? So this is going to feature... Okay, never mind. Okay, we won't. Okay, we're starting with the F, right? Okay. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. Very good. All right, so you guys can sing along because that's what we do out here. We have sing-alongs, right? Okay, so let's play this. Play the F for a little bit here. 1, 2. Are you ready to sing? 1, 2. Flies in the buttermilk shoe, fly shoe. Flies in the buttermilk shoe, fly shoe. Flies in the buttermilk shoe, fly shoe. Skip to my Lou, my darling. Skip, skip, skip to my Lou. Skip, skip, skip to my Lou. Sing it out. Skip, skip, skip to my Lou. Skip to my Lou, my darling. Lost my partner, what'll I do? Lost my partner, what'll I do? Lost my partner, what'll I do? Skip to my Lou, my darling. Skip, skip, skip to my Lou. Skip, skip, skip to my Lou. Skip, skip, skip to my Lou. Skip to my Lou, my darling. Yay. All right, we're also going to invite you to sing along with This Land Is Your Land. And I'm going to, Nelson is going to continue to volunteer like he does. And he's going to help Brock out with the ukulele. I'm going to help the recorders. Recorders, can you see me okay?
Excuse me?
Oh, you know what? That's... Yes. Oh, don't worry about that. That's okay. Okay, recorders, can you
Paying
see?
attention.
Make sure you got it. Okay?
I can't.
Let's play that. Play that C for a little bit. Okay. Let's play a C chord there. Okay, here we go. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was as I was walking that ribbon highway, I saw above me that golden skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. Now we're gonna- This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. Everybody take a bow. Ready? 1, 2, 3. There we go.
Thank you, that was wonderful. You guys are awesome singers and musicians.
All right. Let's go back
Right.
or go. I'll take the instruments. I'll take the instruments if they're the school instruments. Your own instrument. Nice job.
A singing school board member, that's right. Here, we'll come into the kindergarten room and then your parents will grab you on the way. You do that every board meeting?
That's it. Keep it simple.
All right. Fantastic. Okay. Well, thanks again to everybody. That was great. So we will move on to United Way presentation. Hi, Heather.
Hello, everybody. There's absolutely no way I can follow that up. Appreciate that you put me names after them. But most of you know me, or at least are annoyed by me on a regular basis. So I want to thank you very much for allowing us to come onto the agenda tonight and give our little spiel. So I'm a board member with the United Way. I just joined this year. And also with me is Jim Kale, right here in the front. He is also a board member and past president as well as interim executive director at one point.
My wife used to teach here for many years, Alan.
Yes.
Oh,
And I'm a graduate of Mill River. I actually went to school with Jim's daughter, Erin. She kicked my butt in science every day. So anyway, again, thank you so much for having us. I'm going to try to make this brief. I know you guys are really busy tonight. So I want to start out with one question. Can any of you tell me what the United Way is? Brief little synopsis. Go ahead.
It's a fund drive, an annual fund drive that funds a variety of nonprofits in the Rutland
Pretty
area.
concise, very nice, yes. So the United Way is actually the biggest non-governmental fundraising entity in our district, or in our county, I should say, that funds these variety of nonprofits and services. So I'll run down a little bit. Can anybody raise your hand if you're familiar with this. Rutland County Head Start. So you know Rutland County Head Start. Dismas House. Okay. Rainbow Riding Center. Yeah, that's in Shrewsbury. That's one of our very own. The Community Cupboard, Rutland Community Cupboard. Turning Point Center. Okay. The Compassionate Friends. Yes. Visiting Nurses. Yep, you're familiar with that too. Brock and the Carving Studio. And I'll tell you one thing, and I bet you can guess it, the thing that all of these have in common. They are partners of and supported by the United Way. And this is just a very small briefing of the different agencies that we support. So this is really, really serious work that's being done in the community. I want to tell you a little story. Today we had our kickoff breakfast to start our campaign, our yearly campaign. And we had a guest speaker who was the administrative assistant at the Turning Point Center. If you're not super familiar with the Turning Point Center, they offer services to those who are in recovery from drug, substance abuse, addiction. She gave a speech that was very authentic, told about her experiences. It's the longest job she's had. She said she's been there for 4 years. She started using when she was 12 years old and didn't stop until she was 35. And she said she woke up one day, realized that she had 2 children. She was an adult, was expected to make adult choices, and she had no idea how to do it because nobody had ever shown her how to do it. 2 things she said really stuck with me. One was that her experience in recovery, what recovery means to her is that when she wakes up in the morning, she is grateful to have another day instead of wishing that she hadn't woken up. And 2, she knows that her 2 daughters will have a lot of heartbreak, a lot of loss, and a lot of pain in their lives, but it won't be caused by her. And as a mother, I can tell you at that point my tears probably could have drowned the world because that's something that's really dear and close to my heart. So this is an example of some of the services that the United Way funds, and they're very needed in our community. The reason why we're here tonight is because I'm not sure if many are familiar with the Rutland City School Districts, but they have in the past done a workplace campaign. And I'm going to pass this out right now for you. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about some services, but I just want to get these in front of you. This little brochure. And if you look on the back, there's a little form, and that's what we're going to be discussing tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
So some of the programs I really want to talk about tonight really directly affect the children that we serve. Has anybody heard of Happy Feet?
Yes.
Okay, so what Happy Feet does is United Way in partnership with a teacher the teacher was informing United Way that a lot of kids come to school, as you all know, with rags on their feet or something resembling rags on their feet and don't have the proper shoes for the winter, for whatever season they're in. Happy Feet, United Way partnered with some of the, what's the shoe store? Sensible Shoes, I think it is, Sensible Shoes, and with another, I believe, shoe company, gets these kids shoes. This is directly affecting our district. Another program that I just mentioned was Rainbow Riding Center. That's in Shrewsbury, that's in our district. We saw a little girl today at our kickoff with low-functioning autism who was having trouble speaking, having trouble walking, having trouble functioning. She's now riding a horse almost entirely independently through that program. That directly affects our kids. One other program I want to talk about was the Snack Sack, which is currently in, and I forget the new merge name, I think it's Slate Valley District. And that provides meals, a little sack of meals for a student's family, entire family, if they're struggling 10 months out of the year. And one of the kids that we heard about today was really upset when that came to an end at the end of the 10 months for summer because he didn't know how he was going to feed his little sister. That's something that we could use here as well. And that's something that the United Way supports. So I just want to put that really in our front yard because it is in our front yard. So what I'm asking for tonight, and not asking for any money tonight, I'm not asking for any promises or anything. What we would like is the school board's permission to go to each of the schools, present our information to the staff, and ask if they would like to sign up for the workplace campaign. The benefit for that is that they can have the money, and I've spoken to Stan about this. It doesn't seem to be huge of a problem. I did talk to him about it, and I'm sure he can fill you in. But the benefit to that is if a teacher decides or a staff member decides, yeah, I want to donate $2 out of a paycheck. Doesn't have to be a lot of money. $2 out of a paycheck, every paycheck for the entire school year, or for 5 paychecks out of the school year, however much they decide, that money is taken pre-tax. So it's taken from their paycheck pre-tax. District then pays the United Way. This way, the money isn't put into the staff member's pocket, taxed, and then they have to donate it to the United Way. And the way with the new tax laws, the deductions for return is not very high. So they save a little on taxes, and the donation is just much simpler. So that's what we're asking for tonight, is just your permission to go to the schools, present our info to the teachers, how it affects them and their students, our entire community, and if they'd be willing to consider it. They don't have to. You know, it could be one teacher in each district, it could be 2 teachers, it could be whoever wants to do it, just that it's available to them. That's the information we want to convey, is that this is available. The district is willing to help our community by doing this, and you guys are on the front lines. So Jim, did you want to add anything?
Just a couple things. After that excellent performance, there's really not much I can say. We had a meeting, a fundraising meeting here about a week ago, and it came to light that there are about half a dozen United Ways in Vermont. The United Way of Rutland County was the only one that saw an increase in the fundraising ability over the last year. The only one, which I think is a testament not only to the United Way, but to our community. I mean, the United Way, you know, when you really get right down to it, is the community.
It's neighbors helping neighbors. That's
helping
exactly what it is.
You know, the funds that we raise are for the most part come locally. The determination on where those funds are dispersed, that's a local decision. Your neighbors are making those decisions at the United Way, partnering with other agencies. I think it's pretty easy to see that we are working to support and have for many, many years students, like the students that were just here, teachers, and schools. And the more resources that we have, the more that we can continue to make a difference in our community here, Rutland County. So thank you very much.
$1 is a pair of shoes for a kid, really. It's that simple. And I like to say, I've had a lot of people come up to me and say, I can't give $100. I don't have $100 to give. And $1, give $1 if you can. And one thing I like to say about Rutland County is we may not have a lot of deep pockets, but we have some deep hearts. And that's the most important thing in the United Way. So again, that's what we're coming here tonight, is just to get your blessing to let the teachers know that this is available. If they, in the district, of course, is willing to do it if you are, and hopefully change some lives that way. So
Great.
That's brief, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes.
Can I make the motion that we agree to allow the United Way to approach our teachers and staff about making these payroll deductions?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion?
Well, personally, I've, over the years, have had quite a bit of contact with United Way. The Rotary Club in Rutland that I've been associated with has always been involved in the United Way. And my wife, I know, contributes through work. And I've seen some of the results of their efforts with some of the organizations we just heard about. So I'd 100% support it.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? There you go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do you need any kind of a letter from us or anything?
No, I don't think so. We'll just make arrangements with the principals. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night. Okay, we will move on to our committee reports. I know that Adrienne is not with us tonight because she was on her way back from Montpelier, so I don't think there's anything for negotiations to report on that I know of. Okay, so personnel?
Good evening. A couple of things. David had sent out previously, because we didn't want to schedule a personnel committee meeting for this evening, so David had sent out a contract for your perusal for support staff custodian 1.0 full-time equivalency for Josiah Cox.
Josiah is here, actually.
And that's Josiah. And so I would make a motion that we offer this contract to Josiah.
Second.
Excellent. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the contract for Josiah Cox, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Congratulations. I hear you're also interested in potentially driving one of our buses, so Congratulations, we'll push you ahead for that too when the time comes.
And then just one other thing, or two things actually. Our next Personnel Committee meeting is October 2nd at 6:30 at Mill River.
I'm sorry, I'm,
October 2nd
okay.
at 6:30 at Mill River. And one of the other things I wanted to mention, because during the summer we kind of get caught up on contracts, but I wanted to thank the Personnel Committee members as well as the other board members who have been participating in developing an evaluation tool for the superintendent, and it's almost completed. It took a lot of work, and I appreciate, I haven't said anything about it in public, and I just wanted to take a moment to thank everyone who's been involved in that, and we're getting close to the end of it, and thank you very much.
Excellent, thank you, Lynn. Policy, George.
Yes, first off, I'd like to point out to folks in the recent boardroom from the Vermont School Board Association has quite a bit of information on page 10 about the new policy manual that they're updating this fall. And I will bring this up for discussion in our next policy meeting as well, for a brief discussion on quite a few changes they're anticipating to make. Our next meeting will be October 1st at 5 o'clock. And what school are we at? Are we going to be at Mill River?
Mill River, yep.
Mill River. So it'll be Mill River at the usual corner room there. And I would imagine Buildings and Grounds will meet right after as usual in the same place. Unless we're out to a visit. Are we out to a visit? Do you know?
We haven't really decided yet, so I think we're probably going to be at high school.
Okay, good enough. So that's that. We have 3 policies that I'm going to bring forward for approval for a first reading. You all should have received a copy in your email of those policies for you to review. The first one is F9, Transportation. This had to be changed to fit our new transportation issues, such as bus drivers, such as the different programs we're trying to start at different schools. So I'll entertain a motion to approve this as a first reading.
Motion.
Thank you. Is there a second? Oh, I'm sorry, Tammy, I'm stealing your thunder.
You're stealing my job, George. You make the motion, I do all the directing.
I'll make the motion, you can get it. We have a second right over here.
I could just leave now, I could go home. Take over.
Well, you know, I wouldn't want to take away your compensation, so.
Any discussion?
Yep.
Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the policy for a first reading, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, there you go.
That's what happens when you get old, Tammy, so just kind of overlook it. I'm older than I used to be. The next policy under consideration, we have to be careful. This is the title of this policy kind of says what is important about it. F12, Commitment to Educational Equity. In other words, this policy is holding the board's feet to the fire to work on coming up with a comprehensive educational equity policy. So I want to make sure everybody is on board with what this particular document is. So I move that we approve this for a first reading.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any
Okay.
discussion?
I'm sorry, I missed that meeting. So this is a policy saying we're going to create a policy.
Essentially, and what this has included in it is the working definition of educational equity as a first step.
And there's room for that to adjust as we get
Absolutely.
a better understanding of what
Absolutely.
that would be. Okay.
Absolutely.
I think that what we had talked about as a board was that we wanted to demonstrate publicly that we were moving towards adopting the policy rather than just say it. This was a firmer commitment on the part of the board to adopt it.
That's it.
Okay, great.
That's why it sounds funny that it's a commitment to adopt a policy, but.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving F12 for a first reading, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions?
And lastly, in the long-anticipated G11, and BJ is not here to get full credit, expected responsible use of the internet and electronic devices. So I would move that we approve that as a first reading.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Just want to say that BJ emailed me to say that he was going to be taking over the table for the open house at Mill River tonight.
Oh,
So that is what he's doing.
Oh, great.
So that's why
I'll
he's
leave
not
that
with us.
We'll forgive him then, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Full pass.
So, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving G11 for a first reading, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions?
And I might point out, if I may, that in the boardroom magazine, or whatever you want to call it, they talk about the model policy on electronic communications between school employees and students in collaboration with the VSBA to be worked on. So we'll see what happens with that. I have nothing else.
Okay, thank you. Buildings and grounds, John is not here. I knew that he wasn't going to be here. I think he's coaching soccer this evening. So we'll move on. Gary, do you need anything to tell us anything in particular?
No, we haven't met since the last meeting.
That's what I thought.
We meet Tuesday before our next board meeting.
Okay. And then finance, Andy.
Yes. Not too many numbers this evening. This is a pay order. It is dated, what is the date? There it is, September 18th, 2019. From the operating account, $264,589.47. From the after-school fund, $2,065.74. Food service fund, $1,872.63. Mill River School activities, $2,045. The total of this pay order is $270,572.84. And that is the only one I have. Stan, there was no payroll. This is all I have. Right?
We'll have to, I'm sure probably nobody told Chad that he had to get some numbers.
So I move that the pay order be approved as read.
Second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I reviewed the, what Andy was just talking about, didn't find anything of any concern. I would like to mention my usual statistic, I can't even say statistic tonight. The health expenditure on that report was $170,509. And I just want to keep that in our forefront in our minds in terms of what that is costing the school district. Necessary, but it's expensive. I am done.
Thank you. All those in, do you have anything to add?
No.
All those in favor of approving the pay order as read, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay.
The Finance Committee had a brief meeting this evening before the beginning of this board meeting. We reviewed several options to fund the addition of a teaching position at Clarendon, which the board approved at the last board meeting. We agreed that, well, let me back up and said the estimated cost for the additional staffing is $80,864. That includes salary and benefits. We selected from several options what was entitled Option 1, which was several cost savings that we anticipate. And then we moved around just looking at my notes here, some of the funding from one of our positions to Medicaid to bring the total up to $80,864. And we approved that unanimously. Next meeting of the Finance Committee is September 30th, Monday, 4:30 at Mill River.
Thank you. Okay, community engagement. Oh, sorry, what? Oh, sorry.
For the board's policy that you need to make a motion to approve that transfer, because it's more than
Oh.
$500.
Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out.
Do you,
How
do you
would
think
like-
it'd be appropriate if I just read it as option one, or should, there, then we can post that on the website, or?
I can make an option to move the .3 interventionists.
Oh, that's
Take out of
specific.
local funds to the Medicaid funds, and to use the known operating savings for this year to cover that position.
You said
Under
that
option one.
very well and succinctly. And
You've done this before.
you have that?
He'll get her there.
Right. Are there any questions on what Stan just summarized better than I did? So I will move that we approve that change of funding sources for this position.
Second.
Okay, any discussion with regard to that? Okay. All those in favor of approving that reallocation of funding, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? My mouth's not working now.
Yeah,
That's contagious.
Stan, thank you for that.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay, sorry, Maria. There you go.
Oh, that's okay. The Community Engagement Committee is continuing to work on the board engagement plan and has started to look at community engagement policies from other districts and other schools. And we've talked about things that can be done right now. Last night, Tammy and Liz came and were board members at our open house and talked to a few people. And it's just good to be out there and visible. And BJ is at Mill River tonight, which is beyond my wildest dreams. And then we have people covering for next week's meetings in Tinmouth, Clarendon, and Shrewsbury. So, I mean, open houses. So that's going to be good. I've talked to Sean about the website and about making it more clear how to contact board members via the website. And work continues.
Excellent. Good. And do you have another meeting date scheduled?
We do not yet have another meeting date. It will be warned when it is. It's likely to be the middle of October.
Okay.
But, yeah.
All right. Thank you. And we will move on now to, we're going to have a presentation by the Equity Committee, which is an administrative committee. So.
That's me and Maria. I had it rolling for like 5 minutes so it wouldn't do this. Well, Maria, you'll have to just look here. Okay. And then eventually it'll hook back up.
Okay. So we have this.
The cord got jostled. Just check your plugs. Something got jostled.
It takes a couple minutes to hook up.
Oh.
It might have just looked up, no?
We'll get it together eventually.
It started in 2018, and the group is board members, there are parents, there are people who cross over like myself. We have administrators, teacher, para, and guidance staff. And we have had students involved. We don't currently have any students running. This is our working definition of educational equity. It's very similar to the one that's on that policy that we just took for first reading. It's a work in progress. I'm not going to read it all. You're welcome to read it unless someone would anyone like me to read it all to you? Okay. It's something that we will continually revisit as we're working on what educational equity is looking like at Mill River. Okay, so what we're doing right now, we're doing a lot of learning. We've had people come in and talk to us. We've had members of the group present on subjects that they've worked on. Some of us have gone to trainings outside the district and come back and reported back on trainings in gender equity, racial equity, and that was all so far. We've been doing a lot of reading and reviewing that we are available to provide recommendations and support, for example, for the board to develop an equity policy for groups that are working on equity initiatives. And we're compiling resources. We're collecting resources that will be available to whoever needs them, to teachers, to the board, to student groups that want to get together.
So just in general, we're just all working together. It's just an honor to work with a whole group of people who are really committed to educational equity at Mill River and to the work that we're all doing together, and just to build capacity as a district and people that are working to become educated in this work, because all of us, there's no static, I'm done in understanding educational equity. So we're just working together to get there. So we thought it might be helpful, in addition to just quickly outlining what the Educational Equity Committee is doing, to also talk about central office equity work, because at the same time, this is an advisory committee and an administrative committee, and there's also central office work being done. Some of the important things, I gave everybody just a sustaining roots document. That's one of the most important things to us when we're talking about equity work within our central office work, because this is where we have really outlined how equity fits into our major initiatives in our district. So equity is not a standalone issue, it's not a standalone initiative. Our major pedagogical and curricular initiatives include proficiency-based learning, our Trailhead project, MTSS, and social emotional learning. And so when we started really looking at the lens of equity in our work, we thought it important just to outline how the major things that we work on a day-to-day basis really are addressing inequities and working to focus on this. So we keep this on our desks, we keep it, we've gone over it with all of our educators just to say, this is important to us, and this is the way that we are addressing it in our daily work. Another thing that has been done is expanding the equity coordinator role and representation. So we've had an equity coordinator for our district since HHB policies were adopted, that is within that policy. But in conversation at the central office level, we just decided maybe we want to think about what an equity coordinator currently does and what more can be done. And so we expanded that role. That I'm not going to click on it in the interest of time, but that is available if anyone would like to know more about that. Brian and I both serve the district as equity coordinators, so that we have some gender representation and some different role representation that allows people to go to somebody that they're comfortable with. And expanding that role just allows us to look more into making sure that all of our staff and all of our students feel supported. Last year, Andrew and Brian and I did some work compiling district data and examining the data for signs of inequities. Very pleased to see that there was no shown inequities in the areas of discipline or proficiency, but we're always looking at our data to make sure that we do not have major areas of inequity, and if we do, to address those. Another thing that we did is ask a local expert to come in and do an equity consult for us. So when it's your house, sometimes you don't notice the dish on the counter, right? So the thinking was, we know our district well. We know what we want to improve upon. We know what we're doing really well. But are we seeing everything clearly because we know our district so well? Because of that, the central office decided to do an equity consult. So Mike McCraith, who is the principal of Montpelier High School and is now working for the VPA, has been really engaged in equity work in Vermont for many years. So Andrew and I contacted him and said, what would you think about just coming to do just a visit and just writing down what you see? And so Mike came, he visited Clarendon Elementary, Central Office, and Mill River Union over the course of a full school day. He wrote up a report. We shared that report with the equity committee and with the leadership team. And it just had some noticings and some wonders. One of those wonders was that we could use a board equity policy. So we are working on that. Another one was that it's always good to build capacity in understanding issues of equity. That is something the committee and the leadership team is always working on as well. So, central office plans for the coming year. We have 3 of our district release days that are being dedicated to professional learning and issues of equity. Outright Vermont is coming one day, Rebecca Haslam is coming one day, and one day is going to be Andrew and I just talking about what the district has planned and is doing around issues of equity and just rolling out this work. We are going to do 1 curricular release day training within a release day training this year on an equity overlay tool for teachers of ELA and global citizenship. So that's basically a tool that teachers can use to look at their curriculum and say, is this representative of all of our students? And if not, what other resources can I ask for, can I find to make sure that all kids feel seen in the classroom and represented? And we are having a team of educators, mainly from the high school, attend the Roland Conference next month in October. Andrew, Mike, and I are actually presenting at the Roland Conference on our district's equity work, and that was a request because I'm very proud of the work we're doing, and I think that other people are interested to hear about some of the steps we've taken. So, next steps. The high school staff is working to reorganize an active GSA. We've had a GSA for years, but it's gone up and down in how active it's been, so it's working to be... What? Sorry?
Can you tell me what that is?
Gender Sexuality Alliance. So it is a club for those who are LGBTQ plus or supporters to just come together and talk about issues pertaining to gender and sexuality. We did apply for the state equity grant last year. We were not one of the districts chosen. We will try again. We'll continue to work on providing equity-focused professional learning opportunities and support the board's equity goals. We're really excited about that. Any questions?
I have a question. Do you have PD professional development dates for Outright Vermont and Rebecca Haslam?
Yes.
Okay.
Do I have them memorized? No, but I can give them to you.
Okay, and
it's
I
March
can-
and April.
Okay, and I can send you if it's easier for you, I'll send you an email saying, hey, when is this? I'd like to be there if I may be. And I am interested to know more about the equity roles.
I would be absolutely happy to share that with you.
Thank you.
I'll stick around at the end of the board meeting, or we can talk again soon.
Okay, great, thank you.
I just have a question, just mostly for anyone who's watching it. If you could just explain what MTSS is, because, well, Len and I had that question when we spoke to Brian, just to refresh, because I know, and just people who are listening and watching might not understand what that is.
Sure. Jump in if I get anything off. So it stands for Multi-Tiered Systems of Support, and at its most basic level, it is saying that we are dedicated to meeting students exactly where they are and giving them exactly what they need, socially, emotionally, and academically. And so it just means that we don't just lecture a class and whoever picks it up is great. We have systems of support to make sure that every single student is met where they are and is given the level of instruction they need to excel.
Thank you. I'm excited to look forward to what else you guys have coming. The whole committee, it sounds like you guys are working towards some wonderful things. So,
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Maria.
you. Thank you.
Okay, now we have a request for school board resolution regarding support for the electric bus program.
So I'll give a very brief overview and then I'll turn it over to the experts. So Gary and the Transportation Department have been looking at a pilot program through the state for electric buses, and we applied for an early piece of that and we made it into the next round.
Oh, good.
And in talking with Gary about, hey, what does that mean and how do we make ourselves a more attractive option? This concept of the board adopting a resolution to that effect is a key piece. Gary, would you mind taking over from there and giving them a sense
Sure.
of what we're
One
working
of the
on?
things that we've managed to do is clear the first hurdle. We responded to what's called a request for qualifications, and we basically have qualified shortlisted, if you will, as one of, you know, probably in the area of 8 to 10 other schools in Vermont that are eligible to put forward a proposal to participate in this pilot program. So we are getting that application together. One of the things that we have been told would be helpful is support, show of support from our board, from our superintendent, from our bus drivers even. So we're trying to gather all that paperwork as we put this together. You know, we've been talking about this for quite a while. Hopefully that we would be able to participate in it. So this is the next step for that.
Could I ask a question before we go to the resolution part? Would it be helpful, since we are videotaping this, if we asked members of our community that are supportive of that, if they emailed, is that anything that would help you? If
Any support that we can show helps our case, yes.
So, yes, so I would say that if anyone out there that's watching is committed to this and thinks it's a good idea, that you could email Gary or anyone on the board, and we will forward your emails on to Gary and the powers that be, whoever we need to make sure that they know that you are supportive of our district being a participant in this program.
May I ask that Sean Rook put something out on social media so that everybody else can share it as well?
That's a very good idea, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, great, thank you. Okay, so who would, do you have a form of the resolution, or?
We do not. We're punting on this one. So
Okay.
anything to the effect of our board resolves or would like to express its intention and support for an electric bus program, that we are excited participants, something to that effect would be.
Anyone feel that they're?
I'll try. I will
Okay.
try. Okay. I'm very excited about this.
I would like to know a little bit more about it. I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
No, that's fine.
I mean, I'm just interested in.
I think it predated your
I wasn't-
maybe participate, being
Okay.
on the board, where we
So then there's
originally
three
were
of us that it
discussing.
predated.
Yeah, I think, right? Do you want a background?
Yeah, I'd like just a little bit more. That's all right.
Gary, background on the electric bus program option that we're
Well,
looking.
it's actually a pilot program that is being instituted by a group called VEIC, which is Vermont Energy Investment Corporation. The money for the program is coming from the Volkswagen settlement. If you remember, several years ago, Volkswagen got caught with their hand in a cookie jar, essentially falsifying some diesel test results. So this is a program that basically is being paid for through that settlement to eliminate certain older diesel buses and to to test out the viability of using electric buses in the Vermont setting. We're cold, we are hilly, those type of things, to see how these buses actually perform in this area. It's good to know that one of the manufacturers of the buses is actually out of the Montreal area, so they do operate in the cold. What it entails is basically running the buses on several of our routes over a time period and basically logging the performance to see how they perform how often we have to charge, how often we have to do maintenance, the condition of the buses, those type of things, to see how these buses actually perform in our area. It costs us nothing more than what we would normally put forth for one of our diesel buses. So our contribution to the program would be the $80,000, if you will, that we typically spend on a diesel bus, which we have that plus another in our budget for this year. The rest of the program is paid for by the VEIC group through the settlement. The charging station, the installation of that charging station, everything associated with getting the bus here and with running it for the first portion of the pilot program. So after that, the bus is ours. So for the price of basically an $80,000 diesel bus that we already have budgeted, we would receive what at this point in time is costing in the vicinity of $240,000 for an electric bus.
Would our bus drivers need more training?
No, there's nothing any different about the operation of the bus. It still has the same bells and whistles, if you will. The one thing that is different is this is an electric vehicle, it's silent. So one of the things we actually have to do is play a little music as we're going down the road. So people know we're coming. We're looking at whether it's the ding dong cart music or something along those lines. But actually, that's the only thing that our bus drivers have to worry about. We do have to come up with our plan as part of our application on how we would service the bus, and basically that's through a service agreement with the electric bus company. Nobody in this area at this point in time anyway is qualified to work on these units.
Any other questions?
Are we fairly confident that they're reliable? Because, I mean, if we're testing to find out if they work, but what if it doesn't work, then we're out of bus. Does that make, it's more that
They've operated in other
they've already been
areas of the country. They operate up in the Montreal area.
Oh, okay.
We're pretty confident. It's more, I think frankly, it's more of a way for VW to basically have to pay for giving somebody an electric bus.
Good. All right, thank you.
So do you want to, that gave you some time to formulate your
Did,
resolution?
I looked at other resolutions, so I think I just make a declaration, is that correct? Be it resolved that the Mill River Union Unified School District support the electric bus program. Is that sufficient? Super.
I'll second. If it's a motion, I presume it was.
Yes.
Oh, was I supposed to make a motion?
Well, a motion for the resolution.
Oh,
Sounds
I
good.
make, I make a, all right.
It's good.
We got it. Stop, relax, we got it.
She's so excited she can't speak.
I'm excited and I'm tired and, yeah.
And you can pick the music that the bus.
That sounds great, thank you, okay.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving the resolution as read, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you very much, Liz, for formulating that. Thank you, Maria, for asking for a recap so that you had the time to formulate the resolution.
Anytime.
And refresh everyone's recollection. Okay. And then we come to transact other legal business.
Hi.
Hi, George.
I have, well, about 15 minutes worth, I think. No, what I'd like to talk about is, let's see, let me start this way. I've been in public education since 1977, if any of you can remember back that far. And I've had experience with working and dealing with what is affectionately called the central office crowd. And I would like to say that I believe that the one that we have here in our Mill River district is as good, if not better, than any of the ones I've been exposed to over the years. Every single person that we have is committed and is very skilled in their various jobs. And I certainly appreciate that. I want to pick on two tonight, and I'll pick on others maybe at another date. The first one I want to pick on is a fellow by the name of Gary, who has, if you looked at the report that came out and his section on what has been accomplished this summer, which we heard a little bit of a verbal report last meeting, is just phenomenal. And the work that's been accomplished on time has been phenomenal. He does a hell of a job, and we're so lucky. Now, I also would like to make mention that this weekend there is an event going on at the Clarendon Regional Airport. Well, they're bringing in a B-17, which is one of the planes from World War II, and there you can go in for a fee, small fee, you can see and even have a tour, and if you have a big pocket money, you could go for a ride. And so I got a call from somebody that said, we need to have a line marker. And I said, well, let me see what I can do. On a Saturday, I got a hold of Gary, and he took care of the problem. And so, you know, that's just one instance of above and beyond. So thank you, Gary. The other person I want to pick on, I heard something interesting tonight, and that's our friend Stan the Man, who, as you all know, we've successfully implemented the new software from the business office, and it seems to be going well. And I guess Stan was asked by some people to do something special. What was that, Stan? You told us just a few minutes ago.
Oh, test the upgrade?
No, there was something about a guinea pig. What was all of that?
Yeah, that was testing the upgrade. They were looking for guinea pigs.
So we were asked, or his group was asked to see if they'd be willing to do that and show their proficiency and skills. So again, thank you, Stan. I am done.
Okay, well, jumping on that bandwagon, I know that at our last meeting, we congratulated Brian on his superintendent's license, and since that time, it has come to my attention that we have 2 other members of our staff to congratulate on getting their superintendent's licenses also. And that would be
Cool.
Jody and Andrew, who's not with us tonight, but Jody, so congratulations.
Yes.
It's nice to know that, you know, the district is supportive of our folks in helping them to advance professionally, and I think this is a great example of that, so congratulations. Again, I had sent out an email to everyone about the reformatting of our board meetings, and the response that I got for this second meeting of our month was pretty positive. So if everyone is on board with that, I think that I'd like to try and put that into place sooner rather than later so that we can do some of the work that we would normally do in a retreat scenario at that second board meeting of the month in addition to our presentation. So I think the way that we would like to try and make it play out is to do a brief business meeting with our school presentation first of whatever school we're at, and then a more in-depth time for the board to be educated on subjects or explore things that we need to work on or working on our goals. I know we have 2 goals that we need to work on to come together. And so if everybody's on board with that, I welcome any input or suggestions. I've gotten a few, but if I haven't heard from you, please let me know.
As long as at the end of the agenda you have other legal business, I'm happy.
Agenda building, we have at our next meeting, we're having our meet and greet with our staff at 5 o'clock. And have we heard back from some people? Hopefully we're not meeting and greeting by
Actually, I was
ourselves.
waiting until tonight so that I can
Okay.
say closer to that date as opposed to putting it out too soon. And I
Okay.
also did want to ask, do you have any preference on refreshments at all, or just
I think they
something
did
that
a nice job that last time, whatever
Okay.
they'd like to do along those lines, I
You bet.
believe would be fine. So leave it to their discretion. So we have that. Before our meeting, we have our central office reports. We have our principal reports at the next. So we would maybe ask that we have principals before committee reports, just so that we can, Andy pointed that out, so that maybe we can get those folks out and on their way if they need to leave early.
You bet.
And our central office reports too, and then we could do our committee reports afterwards, since we're in it for the long haul.
We may
So-
have a policy or two, we may have a policy or two.
Okay.
I don't know if we have time to warn them, but
Yeah, we should be good.
you think so? Yeah, okay.
Okay, is there anything else that we need to attend to?
I was thinking
For
the
this
3 that we just talked
or
about,
next
we ought to
This
push
one.
ahead for this one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for this
okay.
one. Do you want to do?
We had talked about it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to, but we're not there yet. I'm just going to do it.
I'm sorry.
Okay, and then, so we do have the need for a brief executive session, just to update the board on something. So that would be related to personnel. So we would need a motion to
So
go
moved.
into executive session for personnel reasons. And a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. So we are in executive session at 7:58. Can we go back to?